Reality is a paradox. The moment we attempt to define it, to grasp it, it slips away, like trying to hold on to the wind. We rely on our senses, our thoughts, and our language to understand the world, but these tools are limited. They provide interpretations, not the thing itself. Consider how we perceive time, for instance. We break it into neat segments, seconds, minutes, hours, convincing ourselves that it flows like a river from past to future. But if you truly pause, you'll find that the past is nothing more than a memory, and the future is only an idea. Neither exists outside the present moment. Yet even the present is elusive. The instant you focus on it, it transforms into the past. Reality doesn't conform to our expectations or our need for stability. What seems solid and permanent reveals itself under scrutiny, to be dynamic and ever-changing. A mountain seen from afar appears timeless. But over millennia it crumbles, shifts, becomes something entirely different. Even the ground beneath our feet, which feels so secure, is in constant motion, part of a planet hurtling through space. We try to map reality with logic and science, and while these are remarkable tools, they can only take us so far. They give us models, approximations, but never the full picture. Just as a photograph can never capture the essence of a sunset, our descriptions of reality fall short of the thing itself. The elusiveness is not a flaw in our understanding, but a reflection of the boundless nature of existence. Reality is not something to be captured, it must be lived, felt, and experienced in its raw, immediate presence. We often trust our senses to tell us what is real, believing that the world we touch, see, and hear is made up of solid, stable objects. A chair feels firm beneath us, a table supports our weight, and the walls around us appear unyielding. This sense of solidity provides comfort, a framework that makes life feel predictable and manageable. Yet, this perception is not the full truth. If we delve deeper, we find that what seems solid is not so at all. The chair, the table, the walls, all are made of atoms, tiny particles surrounded by vast amounts of empty space. These atoms themselves are not solid but are dynamic, made up of even smaller particles moving in ceaseless activity. What feels like firmness to our touch is merely an interaction of energy fields. Even our bodies, which we so intimately associate with solidity, are in constant flux. Skin sheds, cells regenerate, blood flows, and air moves in and out. Over time, every particle that makes up us is replaced, yet we cling to the notion of a static self. The solidity we perceive is a snapshot in an ever-moving stream, an illusion born of our limited perspective. Our language reinforces this sense of solidity. We name things tree, rock, building, and in naming them, we imply permanence. But a tree is not the same from season to season a rock erodes. A building eventually decays. These objects are processes rather than fixed entities, constantly shifting and evolving. This is not to say that the perception of solidity is without value. It serves us well in daily life, allowing us to navigate the world and interact with it. But when we take it too literally, we blind ourselves to the deeper truth that what we see as stable is, in reality, transient and ever-changing. What we call matter seems so tangible, so undeniably real. We knock on a door and feel its resistance, hold a stone and sense its weight, or plant our feet firmly on the earth and trust in its support. Yet this perception of matter as something solid and permanent is more an illusion crafted by our senses than an absolute truth. At the most basic level, matter dissolves into particles so small they defy direct observation. Atoms, once thought to be the indivisible building blocks of the universe, are mostly empty space. Within them, subatomic particles like electrons orbit a nucleus, but even these particles behave more like waves of probability than tiny solid objects. They flicker in and out of existence, their positions uncertain, their very nature fluid and dynamic. What appears solid to us is, in fact, a dense dance of energy. The chair you sit on, seemingly unyielding, is a structure of vibrating fields interacting in such a way that they resist your body. This resistance gives the sensation of solidity, but it is no more real than the heat you feel from the sun. It is an effect, not a substance. Even more curious is how matter depends on observation. Experiments in quantum mechanics reveal that particles behave differently when they are being measured. In some sense, the act of observing shapes reality, suggesting that matter is not something fixed and independent of us, but is deeply interconnected with consciousness itself. The illusion of matter serves a purpose. It provides a sense of order, a framework within which life unfolds. But when we cling too tightly to this illusion, we risk mistaking the map for the territory, the surface for the depths. What we call matter is not a static, unchanging thing, but an ongoing process, a swirling interplay of forces that defies the very notion of permanence. To see through the illusion is not to deny the physical world, but to understand it more fully, to recognize that what seems so solid and separate is, in truth, part of an infinite, interconnected web of energy and existence. The idea of the self is one we hold on to tightly. We say, "This is who I am," defining ourselves by names, roles, memories, and identities. We construct a narrative, a story that weaves together the fragments of our experiences into a cohesive sense of being. It feels so real, so central to our existence, that we rarely stop to question it. But what is this self we so readily identify with? When you look for the self, where do you find it? Is it in the body? The body is constantly changing, cells dying and regenerating, skin shedding, hair growing, organs renewing themselves over time. The physical form you inhabit today is not the same as it was 10 years ago, nor will it be the same 10 years from now. Is the self in the mind, then? Thoughts arise and pass, often without our control. Memories fade, shift, or even distort. Emotions ebb and flow like waves, here one moment and gone the next. The mind is a river, ever changing, never the same twice. So how can something so fluid be the foundation of a fixed self? Perhaps the self lies in our roles and relationships. I am a parent, I am a teacher, I am a friend, yet these too are transient. Roles evolve, relationships change, and the circumstances that define us are in constant flux. Even our names, which seem to anchor our identity, are labels given to us at birth, symbols that carry meaning only because others agree they do. A name is not the self, it is merely a signpost pointing to something far more mysterious. When we strip away the layers body, mind, roles, labels, what remains? Many spiritual traditions suggest that what is left is not a self in the way we typically think of it, but a vast, open awareness. This awareness is not separate from the universe, but deeply interconnected with it, like a wave that is both distinct and inseparable from the ocean. The construct of self is a useful illusion. It allows us to navigate the world, build relationships, and create meaning. But when we cling to it as absolute truth, we limit ourselves, confining the infinite to the finite, the boundless to a box of our own making. To see through the construct is not to lose oneself, but to discover that what you are is far greater than any story you could ever tell. Language is one of humanity's greatest tools, a system we've developed to communicate, to describe, to make sense of the world. With words, we name things, categorize them, and create order out of what might otherwise feel chaotic. A tree becomes a tree, the sky becomes blue, and emotions like love or anger are given form and meaning through sounds and symbols. But in this remarkable system lies a profound limitation, for language is not the thing itself. When we say tree, what are we referring to? The word itself is a symbol, a sound, or a scribble on a page. It cannot convey the full essence of the living organism. It points to the texture of its bark, the unique pattern of its branches, the interplay of sunlight on its leaves, or the way its roots dig deep into the soil. The word tree is a shortcut, a way of packaging infinite complexity into something we can quickly understand. But in doing so, it obscures the richness of reality. Labels work in a similar way. When we label someone as a friend, a stranger, or an enemy, we reduce their complexity to a single dimension. We box them into categories that make them easier to relate to, but also easier to misunderstand. The fullness of their being, their fears, dreams, and contradictions is lost beneath the simplicity of the label. Even abstract concepts like time and space are shaped by language. We talk about time as if it flows in a straight line, moving from past to future, and about space as though it can be divided into discrete pieces. Yet these are constructs, ways of thinking that help us navigate the world, but do not necessarily reflect the deeper nature of reality. Language gives us a sense of control, a way to break the infinite into manageable parts. But in relying so heavily on it, we risk confusing the map for the territory. We begin to believe that the words we use are the truth of what they describe, forgetting that they are merely tools. This isn't to say that language is without value. It allows us to connect, to share ideas, to create art, and to explore the mysteries of existence. But it is essential to remember its limits. The moment we name something, we begin to separate ourselves from it, to stand apart as observers rather than participants. To truly experience life, we must sometimes let go of the labels and return to direct experience, where the world is not divided by words but simply is. Reality is not something we find in the past or project into the future. It exists only here, in the immediacy of the present moment. Yet how often do we miss it? Our minds are like restless travelers, constantly wandering to places that are not here and times that are not now. We replay memories, cling to regrets, or imagine futures filled with hopes and fears. In doing so, we overlook the only moment that truly existed. The past is a story. It exists in our minds as recollections, and while those memories feel vivid and real, they are interpretations shaped by perception and time. They shift, distort, and evolve, influenced by how we feel in the present. The future, on the other hand, is pure imagination, a series of possibilities conjured by the mind but never guaranteed to arrive. Between these two constructs lies the present, the eternal now, where life unfolds moment by moment. If you stop and pay attention, you'll notice that everything real happens here and now. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of wind rustling through leaves, the rhythm of your breath moving in and out, these sensations are not memories or projections, they are direct experiences. They ground you in reality, providing a gateway to understanding that life is not something happening elsewhere or later. It is here, alive in every fleeting second. But the present moment is subtle. It doesn't announce itself or demand attention. It waits patiently, often drowned out by the noise of thoughts and distractions. To find it requires a pause, a willingness to set aside the mental chatter and simply be. It's in this stillness that the true nature of reality reveals itself, not as a collection of things to be analyzed, but as an unfolding process, rich, vibrant, and ever-changing. Ironically, the present is both fleeting and eternal. Each moment arises, passes, and gives way to the next, yet the now never truly ends. It is the canvas on which life paints its infinite variety, the constant thread running through all existence. When we resist the pull of past and future, we discover that the present is not a limitation, but a liberation. In this moment, there is no need for labels, judgments, or striving. There is only the raw, immediate reality of being alive, aware and inseparable from the flow of existence itself. We live in a world that often encourages us to control, to direct, to master our circumstances. From a young age, we are taught that success comes through effort and control, that if we work hard enough, we can shape our lives according to our will. But the more we try to control, the more we begin to realize that there are forces beyond our influence, unpredictable tides that we cannot steer. At its core, the desire for control stems from a fear of uncertainty. We want to secure our place in the world, to know that things will unfold according to our desires. We set goals, make plans, and try to predict outcomes. We work to make things fit into a mold we've imagined, and we resist anything that threatens that order. But the truth is, life is not meant to be controlled. It is fluid, dynamic, and full of surprises. The more tightly we grip, the more we become entangled in the illusion of control. We find ourselves in conflict with life, trying to force it to bend to our will. Yet in this struggle, we often miss the simplicity and beauty of what is already happening. Life flows in its own rhythm, unaffected by our attempts to control it. The sun rises and sets, the seasons change, and the tides come in and go out, whether we are actively managing them or not. Letting go of control is not about resigning ourselves to chaos or abandoning all responsibility. It is about recognizing that some things are beyond our grasp, that we can't dictate every outcome, and that true freedom comes from embracing the flow of life, not fighting it. When we release the need to control, we open ourselves to the full spectrum of experience with all its unpredictability and wonder. In this surrender, we begin to see that we are not separate from the world we try so hard to control. We are a part of it, an intricate thread woven into a vast tapestry. When we let go, we stop trying to force our place into the fabric and instead allow ourselves to be shaped by the weave itself. We become more attuned to the natural flow, more present with each moment, and more willing to trust in the unfolding of life. It is only by letting go of control that we can truly experience the peace that comes from simply being. When we stop holding on so tightly to what we think should be, we discover that life, in its rawness and unpredictability, is far more beautiful and meaningful than anything we could ever plan or dictate. Existence itself is the great mystery, the riddle that no philosophy or science can fully answer. We live our lives immersed in it, moving through time and space, yet we often overlook the sheer wonder of it all. We wake up, breathe in the air, feel the warmth of the sun, and engage with the world around us, but how often do we stop to ask, why is there anything at all? Why does anything exist rather than nothing? We try to make sense of existence by breaking it down into smaller pieces, atoms, molecules, cells, thoughts, emotions, but the more we dissect, the more we uncover how intricate and unknowable the web of life truly is. Each part of reality leads to deeper questions, and with every answer, new mysteries emerge. Why do the stars burn in the sky? Why does gravity pull objects to the ground? Why is there consciousness in the first place, this awareness that allows us to ask questions and search for meaning? Science provides explanations, offering insights into the mechanics of the universe and the processes that govern life. It shows us how things work, from the vastness of galaxies to the tiny building blocks of cells. Yet, even with all of this knowledge, we are left with a profound sense of awe and uncertainty. How does consciousness arise from a collection of cells? How does subjective experience emerge from physical matter? These questions remain unanswered, leaving us at the edge of the unknowable. Perhaps the mystery of existence is not something to be solved, but something to be lived. It is in the very act of being, of breathing, of feeling, that we touch the depth of what it means to exist. We are part of something much larger than ourselves, a vast unfolding process that defies comprehension. The more we try to capture and define it, the more it slips away. The mystery is not in some distant, unknowable realm, but here in every moment, every breath, every experience. To acknowledge the mystery of existence is to embrace it not as something to be solved, but as something to be lived with humility and awe. It invites us to let go of the need for certainty and to rest in the unknown, to experience life as a profound mystery that cannot be contained by logic or explanation. In this mystery, we find not only the complexity of the world around us, but the profound beauty of simply being part of it. In the end, the mystery of existence is not something we can fully understand or control. It unfolds in the present, in the space where we let go of the need to define, label, or grasp at reality. When we stop trying to impose our limited perceptions on the world, we begin to see the vastness of what is before us. Reality isn't a fixed object to be measured or understood. It is a fluid, living experience, a continuous flow of moments that invites us to simply be part of it. Through the act of letting go, we open ourselves to the fullness of life, embracing the wonder, uncertainty, and beauty of existence. And in that openness, we find the truest sense of what is real, not in the answers we seek, but in the mystery we live.